So let me tell you that story about Christopher Columbus.
Please.
So
the Dick story.
No, I already told you the Dick story.
Yeah.
No, let me tell you just something else about him. Okay. I think him coming to America was the most significant thing to ever happen in our species.
Nigga!
Whoa.
Silence.
Not internet porn?
No, that's just porn in another medium. We are hunter-gatherers. We haven't settled down yet. Early humans. And we're basically wandering. We're following the herds. So 10,000 years is not enough to grow 3 heads or, 12 fingers. But our species is separate. Now, Columbus crosses the Atlantic, makes contact with humans. This is the first time that has happened in 10,000 years. We have rejoined 2 branches of the human species. We are now one common genetic group.
It's the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order. A world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle.
And that genetic crossbreeding now continues to this day. We fly to any corner of the world and mate. The rejoining of the branches of the human species.
Well, yeah, no, I would imagine that makes sense. That is the most important event then.
And by the way, Native Americans, this famous, infamous problem with metabolizing alcohol.
Tonight on World Report, a dry Indian reservation consumed by alcoholism and the white town that exists solely to sell them booze.
Him coming to America was the most significant thing to ever happen in our species.
They would go down and they would take babies with them. I said, what do you mean babies? He says, well, let me tell you. He said the slave babies, the slaves who had babies, they would steal the babies during the course of the day, sometimes when the mothers weren't washing. I said, what do you mean babies? I said, you mean babies like 5 or 6 years old? He says, no. These babies, some would be infants, some would be a year old. He said some would be toddlers. He said they would grab these children and take them down to the swamp and leave them in pens like little chicken coops. They would go down there at night, take these babies and tie them up because they hunted the big bull alligators. These big bull alligators were not raised on the farms. They were in the wild. These alligators would weigh 600, 700, 800 pounds. Those are the ones they wanted. They would skin them, make the wallets, get the meat, do different things with them. He said, but what they were doing was tie them up, put a rope around their neck and around their torso, around here, and tie it tight. He said, I said, well, what would the babies be doing? He said, well, my grandfather said they'd be screaming. He said, what would you do? He said, just let them scream. He said, what they would do, it would help them to chum the water. He said, when they would throw the babies in tied to this rope, he said, in a matter of minutes, he said, the alligators were on them. He said, the alligators would clamp his jaws on that child. As a matter of fact, once he clamped on him, he was really swallowed. You couldn't see anything but the rope. And we would pull the alligator in and tie his nose and hit him in the head with an axe, a pickaxe. He said we would then drag him to the shore. We'd drag him to the shore and leave him lay, and we would do it again, maybe 2 or 3 times a night. I said, so what do you mean? He said, well, yeah, they were taking these babies and killing them for alligator bait. I said, so all these things I've been collecting, all these things I've been collecting are really, really something that I can really talk about and say they're of a truth. By what you say, he said, I'm telling you, he said, nobody wants to talk about it. He said, I'm only telling you because you're here. I may never hear from you again. He said, but these things actually depict the acts that they did to slave babies back in the Bayou country and down the south. They did this. They hunted alligators with these babies. That's why they call alligator bait.
Him coming to America was the most significant thing to ever happen in our species.
In South Dakota's Black Hills is this piece of hallowed ground, where the granite profile of Chief Crazy Horse rises in tribute to the proud but painful past of the Lakota Nation. Well, now there's a new 21st century battle brewing here, and this battle is not nearly so proud as past struggles, but in some ways it is just as painful. It begins at this slight curve in the road, a curve that leads to a fiery conflict centered on the town of White Clay, Nebraska. You see, White Clay is a town with a tiny population of just 22. They have 4 liquor stores. Why? Because White Clay is just a few yards away from the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, where, because of an epidemic of alcoholism, booze is banned. To grasp the size of the problem, consider that estimates put the rate of alcoholism in Pine Ridge as high as 80%. A few years ago, of approximately 13,000 crimes committed on the Pine Ridge Reservation, almost 99% of them were somehow connected to alcohol.
Somebody did that, and the rest is, as they say, history.
Wow.
So personally, I think it is the most significant thing to happen in our species. Otherwise, we'd still be 2 stranded branches of humans.
That's the thing. You can do these wonderful things for not a lot of money if you just do it over many years and have stable funding.